Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Arcada, and welcome to the Mailbag Showdown, where I answer questions based on anime and otaku culture from the wonderful, wonderful viewers such as yourself. If you'd like to send an email for the mailbag, you can at mailbagshowdown@glassreflection.net. That is mailbagshowdown@glassreflection.net, and I will get to it as soon as it is humanly possible to do so. Been a busy couple of weeks, moved back down from Newfoundland, and now I'm going in to Toronto this weekend to try and search for an apartment to find out where to live. And it's going to be wonderful, wonderful, and I'm hopefully not gonna drop off the map for too much. But if I do, there's your warning. Heck, I might not even get this video out on time, so who knows? So, let's begin. Hi, Arcada. Do you happen to have any comedy anime recommendations? I've seen Slayers and Heaven's Lost Property, to name a few, and I'm up for anything as long as it gives me a facepalm moment sometime in the episode. Perhaps even something a non-anime fan would enjoy. If I'm being too specific, I apologize. Also, Brohoof. Thank you, kind sir. Well, when it comes to something that a non-anime fan would enjoy and comedy, I don't really know what to answer in that regard, because it's very hard to find something for non-anime fans to enjoy as is, depending on the person themselves. And comedy is just hard in general, because everybody has different senses of humor, so something that may be funny to one person may not be funny to someone else. So if you want casual, all-around, facepalmy funny, my recommendation would be School Rumble. If you want something more of, a pop culture reference, kind of funny, try out Sergeant Frog. And if you want something more that's like humor from various different abridged series on YouTube, try out Cromartie High School. Hopefully those will do you well. Next up, Dear Arcada, I've been a fan since 2009. Ooh, wait, hold on, 2009? Really? Wow, props to you, good sir. I didn't actually think I had any fans from back then anymore. Anyway, I'm glad you're still reviewing. Now that I got that out of the way, I'm starting my own reviewing show and I'm having a hard time finding video editing software. Any suggestions? Well, it depends. What system are you running? Are you on Mac? Final Cut Pro. There is really no other option if you're on a Mac. And when it comes to being on a PC, it all depends on how much money you have and are willing to spend. I know a lot of people on PC that are very passionate and use, well, maybe not passionate because they hate the thing, but usually tend to use a program called Adobe Premiere. And it usually works well if you're also using it with, After Effects and so forth. Personally, I use a program called Sony Vegas Pro, which is a little bit cheaper than the Adobe ones, but not by much. And that's what I find works really well. The thing that I would tell you to avoid is avoid using iMovie if you're on Mac, and avoid using Windows Movie Maker if you're on PC. Anything is better than that. Even the much cheaper versions of Sony Vegas, not the Pro version, but the cheaper versions, like I think it's called Vegas Movie Studio, is a hell of a lot better than that. So try that, and hopefully that helps you out. Hey Arcada, I hope I'm not contributing too much to the question overload you mentioned in your June 26th Mailbag Showdown. Well, you are, but it's okay, I don't mind. But I'm looking for a recommendation. I finished watching Hellgirl and I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking for shows with a similar feel to it. I already finished Shigofumi, which I found about from your Anime You May Not Have Watched video, and Hibine Renmei, and I'm really hoping for some shows that examine death and the afterlife in a similar fashion. Well, if you want to watch an anime about death, some people might point you in the direction of Death Note, and that might do you fine. But since you mentioned Shigofumi, when I watched Shigofumi, I immediately moved on and watched a show that not many people probably know of called Ballad of a Shinigami, Momo the Girl God of Death. Yes, that is all one big title. And I found it very, very similar to Shigofumi, though probably not as good. It's something to check out though, since it's unlicensed and you just need to go and find it on the interwebs and see if you can watch it. And that might do you well, so hopefully between those two, that'll work out. Next up. I was wondering if you knew of any fantasy mech shows, if that's even a thing, and if so, what would they be and are they worth watching? Thank you. Well, the problem with fantasy mech is that mechs are usually futuristic. There are very few quote-unquote fantasy shows that use mechs, but the ones that do, such as a wonderful show called Escaflowne, do it very well. Now, of course, there are others, but Escaflowne is probably the one you're going to want to look at first. And it's most likely the best recommendation I can give you for mech and fantasy. But generally, if you want mech, you're gonna end up going science fiction or at least modern times, because that's just when they get put. You don't have giant robots in medieval times. It just doesn't make sense. Next up, what programs do you use to get anime footage onto your computer? I have anime on DVD that I want on my computer, but end up having to get them from less than reputable sources. Okay, well the problem here is that I use Fraps, and Fraps probably won't work in your situation, because from what I'm getting, you want to pull down entire episodes and put them onto your hard drive. Fraps won't do that. Well, it will, but you're gonna need a ridiculous amount of disk space, and it's just not recommended. What I would do is I would have a look at Google and try and find a program similar to one I used to use called DVD Decryptor. Now, DVD Decryptor probably won't work anymore because it's been out of... It hasn't really been updated for a very, very long time, and it probably won't be able to go through most of the copyright protection that are put on DVDs nowadays. I even remember, that's the reason I stopped using it for reviews, is because most of the DVDs just wouldn't work for it, and Fraps just works, and it's easier for me because I just grab down specific scenes instead of grabbing down full episodes, and that just happens to work for me. But you really need to just go on to Google and search for a DVD ripper. I don't actually use them, so I don't have a recommendation for you, unfortunately, but Google will probably tell you something. Hello, Arcada. I was wondering if you've ever thought about reviewing any manga series, like when you reviewed Yotsuba. The thing about reviewing manga is that I don't really read a lot of manga. Because generally, like, to go out and get a full series of manga, like if I went out and I wanted to go buy all of Berserk, that's a couple of $100s. They have like I think it's up to like 30 or 35 volumes right now, and at $10 each, that's $350 that I do not have. And that $350 would get me, what? Like 4 or 5 different series, depending on what they're priced and where I get them from. And the other thing is like when I get a single volume of manga, it only lasts me 20 minutes. I can go through a single volume in 20 minutes, then it's on my shelf, and I may never pull it down again. So I never found getting into manga to be that feasible. But that's just me and my financial situation. So if there ever was a manga that I would get really into and I had all of, like maybe if I went and bought a giant box for all the Full Metal Alchemist manga or the Death Note mangas, maybe I might go through that and review them separately. But other than that, it's probably not going to happen. Yotsuba was a one-off thing because I had all the volumes released at the time, and it's not a continuous story, so you could just go on and review it, and it'd probably count for everything else that comes after it. I've been a fan of yours for a while. MD, it seems you don't like FMA Brotherhood. I could be wrong, but if so, is there a reason? I have no problem with you not liking it, I'm just wondering the reason. Also, is there an anime that isn't really famous that would be good to watch? I'm fine with any kind of anime that isn't romance. Okay, a lot of people seems I must have made some comment in either a previous mailbag or something to make people think that I don't like Brotherhood. I do! Brotherhood is very, very good. But the problem is, I believe what I said was that people should watch the original Full Metal Alchemist first. And I stand by that. I really am going to make a video, because I'm going to be reviewing Full Metal Alchemist, the original series, quite soon, in the next couple of months, 2 or 3 months max. Haven't totally nailed down a date, but it's going to happen soon, and I'm probably going to have a separate video alongside it to go and talk about my thoughts on the powder keg that is the discussion between original and Brotherhood. But no, I really do think that you should watch the original before Brotherhood, because yes, Brotherhood is very, very good, and yes, it follows the manga more, blah, 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 like everybody likes to say, but if you watch Brotherhood first, you'll never watch the original first. And that's kind of depressing, considering there are things that the original has that Brotherhood does not. And so to just not watch it at all just kind of doesn't sit well to me. As for an anime that isn't really famous, good luck finding a good anime that isn't really famous. Well, the best thing I could suggest to you is go watch a video that I did a while back called Anime You Might Not Have Watched, because those are animes that I really, really like personally, and also are kind of set up in a way that not a lot of people have heard of them. And those are the ones that I would probably recommend for you in that regard. So try those out. And for the final question of the day, I am looking for an anime that has to do with heroes. While I understand that there is not a lot of anime, if none, that has superheroes like Superman or Batman, I really don't care for the Super Sentai stuff either. So do you know of any? If not, what are your recommendations for anime with heroic main characters? Actually, surprisingly, there are a few. Well, so obviously there are a few. A lot of the Marvel characters and some DC characters have had their own actual animes. Like there's the Iron Man anime, and there was a string of shorts for Batman as well, and you can go check those out if you want. But if you want something with superhero-like characters that are not Sentai, the things that come to mind are shows such as Read or Die, preferably the OVA and not the actual series, although I haven't watched the series, so it might not be that bad. Something a little more action fantasy with some superpowers in it, Shakugan no Shana, or just Shana. And if you want something that is so totally superheroes, there's no way to not mention it, is a show called Tiger and Bunny. It sounds like a very weird name, but it is superheroes. It's just its own special way of doing it, and you can check that out if you have Hulu. I believe it's on Hulu, and also Viz Media has that up on their website, so you can check that out there. Alright, and that's it for today. Thank you for all your wonderful emails thus far, and if you'd like to send in any more emails to add to my overabundance of them, you can send them in at Mailbag Showdown at glassreflection.net. That is Mailbag Showdown at glassreflection.net. And until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.